So I'm here with Brandon from Jeep, Stellantis, and Keith, right, from Klairmont Kollections. And what we've got here is what is one of 6 that's left, you said?
There's more than 6 left, but this is the earliest serial number that's been faithfully and correctly restored. And it's a,
not prototype, what's the word I'm looking for? It's a...
pre-production.
Pre-production, thank you. CJ2, right?
Not a 2A, but a
right,
CJ2.
CJ2.
This was his CJ2, and the document that I sent you yesterday was so that you'd have concrete proof of when the United States government shut down vehicle production.
Yeah, it was an interesting letter too, and then how trying to figure out what resources of the dealership.
Oh, they had people. They had the
dealerships
using their brake lanes. I have pictures of Charlie Sorensen and Ward Kennedy in front of X30, which is this Jeep, at his farm, Sesser Farms in New Hudson, Michigan. We have the invites to the July 18th, 1945 press release for the CJ5. And Life magazine was there. Myron Davis took a whole slew of photos.
Got it.
And I said, you know, somewhere in this area there used to be a farm. And then I turned on, what was the name of the road now? And I saw the house that's in all the pictures.
Really? It's still there?
Yeah, it is.
Oh, okay.
It is. But as a result, we figured out that's where it is. So I went to the New Hudson Library and I talked to the genealogist that was there. And it turned out that her husband used to run the farm.
Wow. Okay. There you go.
So I still have the check that I gave her to compensate her for the time she spent with me, you know, looking at old plot maps.
Is that the one that was rebodied?
No, that's number 3.
Okay.
That's number 3, and that was supposedly Red Houseman's Jeep.
Okay.
I've got some problems with the documentation on that one because I've got conflicting information. I don't believe that one has anything to do with Red Houseman.
Okay.
Yeah, it got a body, an original body, later body on an earlier frame, but there are frame differences on these modifications that they made that were documented in the Warner data book, and it didn't have it.
Yeah, interesting.
Because a lot of the earlier bill of materials would reference the Jeeps in this time frame as being MB-C. And the original theory was MB-C stood for cross steer. Because you think about it, they took the bell crank mounting off of the front axle, moved it up to the frame in order to avoid the cross steer that you got on Johnson rebound on the road. That's why you had that half spring.
Yeah, the torque reaction.
The torque reaction spring on the left side. So it turns out that MB-C stood for MB civilian, and it designated the 2 CJ1s that they made, which instead of saying in a brass plaque saying Jeep, it said Agra Jeep, and it was small.
The evolution,
Because you got photos where they actually broke off the part that said Agra and left the small brass Jeep tag. But serial number 2 was the Davy compressor Jeep. So Davy is actually part of Davy Drill, Davy Tree, Highway Products Company, all in Kent, Ohio. So the Meyer family owned that company. So I spoke to the Meyers at their location, and they showed me pictures and explained to me, oh yeah, well, he gave us the compressor Jeep back. And we just scrapped all the equipment that was on it. We drove it for a couple of years. We sold it to a local beverage distributor, and they put a new body on it. So the original CJ2 body went into a dumpster. And now we got a guy in Pennsylvania that claims that he has it. And it actually has an MD1 produced similar body. That has been replaced, was done by Ryan Hayner. You know him as Mike Metal Shaper. And it was done utilizing not only original parts, but original drawings.
It looks really good.
Oh,
he did a really good job.
He's earned that moniker for his work, and don't judge him on this battery, it was the wrong size. So
this is where they cut off the hinged headlamp support.
The hinged
bracket.
headlamp, exactly the Ford part that they would have needed to pay a royalty to use.
Right.
So these brackets that replace that flip-up bracket are one of the rarest
I was
parts.
gonna say that's a unique CJ2 specific.
Yeah. So this was researched all the way down to the type of lock washers that were used and the surface of the bolt heads.
Who did all the research? Was it Tremaine who did it, or?
Might have been me.
Okay.
I mean, there are others out there that have done a lot of work. Fred Caldwell, Todd Paisley. There's a number of people that are interested in this platform, but taking it back to the factory documents, you know the name Ivan Shotska.
I haven't heard that name before. No.
Okay, well, you know the name Barney Roos.
Yeah.
Barney Roos was fired by Edgar Kaiser in 1954, and I have the resignation letter that Edgar Kaiser wrote for him.
Wow.
And Barney Roos was replaced by Ivan Shotska, who remained the chief engineer of Jeep until 1982 or 83.
Oh wow, so he was there for a long time.
And he actually ran a company called, I want to say it was called Totry, T-O-T-R-Y, because he was going to try to identify your Jeep and tell you whether it was the right serial number and the right year. And so he would go through the archive, which was still at the plant at that point in time. I can't give you the post number that the documents were at, but I do have the photos of the cabinets before they were destroyed. But he was going to write a book, so he gathered stuff for 30 years. And when his estate was sold off, a third of it is in Fred Caldwell's possession, mostly military. And that's why Fred has CJ209, the first one that was located.
That's the one that has, and that one has the stamped. Is that does that have the stamped Jeep on the hood?
No, his looks very much like this. The one that you've seen that has stamped on it is probably number 37, which is Todd Paisley's. Is it a robin's egg blue? Original bodies that have been found, you could see where the welds were broken when they tore this box out. But for 21 through 40, so Todd Paisley's as an example, has the full toolbox with Jeep on the front. And the
that's up to him.
I did not saw the camera.
No.
May I come around?
Yeah, come on in.
Are these just MB seats then?
They're similar to MB seats, but they're a different height. And if you think about it, they're probably a different depth, because you notice that
the wheel well,
the wheel well, it doesn't have the cutoff on it. You're going to see that these ribs, they're all taller.
They're a lot. It's a lot deeper.
So this wasn't done on the same tooling in American Central that the standard 2A body was. The tailgate, of course, they don't have the L-shaped reinforcements. The footman loops are a different height. But the Willys Overland Night Registry, which is, ironically enough, even though the drawings were in Philadelphia and North Carolina, the drawings are all in a basement about 5 miles from where Cessor Farms was. You're welcome.
And then this was just a flat plate. It didn't have the
and I can't tell whether, I haven't researched whether this was the original piece of steel, because sometimes you had the steel mill.
Oh yeah, it is, Huh.
So I honestly haven't had a chance to look at it.
What is something like this worth? That's a loaded question, probably.
I know what they run.
Fair enough.
But this is one of those cases where beauty is in the eye of the beholder. I haven't seen one available for under $65,000, and I've seen them for up to $95,000.
Okay.
And I can tell you that the ones that I saw were not this quality of work.
Fair enough.
This one was not purchased based on price. This one was purchased on insurance that it was going to go to a museum, and we weren't going to forget the person that put his hard work into scouring the country for years to find these parts. Because I started doing the math the other day, and it was 1997 when I became aware of these and hunt for them. And I know that because the internet was rather new.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a website, it was the Jeep list. It was a list server, so it was Jeep-L. And there were only like 3 people in the country that would post about finds like this. And of course, anybody could see every note that any person put together. It was more like a bulletin board. And things started to heat up when the first Agri-Jeep was found in Maryland. Charles Ellis was the guy that found the first one and wrote a letter to Ivan Shatska asking him whether or not it was a real Jeep.
Okay.
Oh.
And I have Ivan's response that said, I don't know, let me check.
I don't know.
And then he wrote back and said, oh my God, you've found the Holy Grail. And so this is a product of many years of research by many people and a lot of skilled workmanship, fabrication, and restoration of original parts.
So is the PTO, is it any different than a production?
8 inches. It was a plate about that thick.
Okay.
I've got good enough high-res pictures of the only existing one that we will be able to reproduce it if we choose to.
That'll be a nice addition.
But this Jeep did not. Let's just say that when I discovered I could justify having one, and we bought a collection. So
because you have the Nord Jeep now too, right?
We have the Nord Jeep and all the accessories and all the documentation. One of the most prized parts of it is the letter to the Nords that says, well, we couldn't find you a Newgren catalog, so we're sending you the only one that we have in the shop. Would you please return it? That letter is stapled to the original one that they never returned.
So they never returned it. I was just going to ask.
And that actually, it looks like it's the right clamp. It just
not the right
bolted
spot
to the corner of the bracket. This twisted piece here is something that was made up.
Okay.
They did a good job with it.
Yeah, they did a great job with it. And that's one of the things that I like the most about Jeeps is the fact that you see some really good farm engineering there.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Whatever to make it work and keep it running.
And this obviously I added. I'm just 1 to 12 volts and then.
So did you know Bruce Shabeck at all?
I think I've met him. Yeah.
Bruce has helped me out immensely over the years on both Goodyear business and Jeep stuff. But I gave him a Jeep and he converted it to 12 volt and put in an alternator. What a freaking Chrysler alternator! So it's like this big around. It's from like a 70 Charger.
So I appreciate your time and thank you. And Brandon, thanks for introducing me to him.
Absolutely.
So very cool.
So here we are today, 20 years after the 2003 Wrangler Rubicon was introduced. We've sold over 700,000 Wrangler Rubicons globally. It represents about 25